Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about my top 25 favourite movies from 2004. These are all in accordance with the release dates from IMDb, and again there's no real right or wrong to this list. These are just my top 25 personal favourites from this year. So this is the first of two videos I'm going to be posting today. My second one will be the unboxing of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, so keep an eye out for that as well. But yeah, getting back to 2004, I'm going to rattle off some of my honourable mentions for this year now, and kicking it off with Team America. This is just an absolutely hysterical film from the creators of South Park. Didn't quite make the list for me, but it was great to see those puppets back from pretty much the Jerry Anderson style of TV shows that came out in the 60s, like Captain Scarlet, Thunderbird, Stingray. It was just great to see that used with the humour of South Park. Just really, really funny. Shame we're not getting a sequel because they vowed never to make one. Coming up next in my honourable mentions is Friday Night Lights. Great sports movie, this, with Billy Bob Thornton. Next honourable mention for me is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I just couldn't get into this movie. I know a lot of people really, really do like this film, and I can completely see why. It's really abstract, really makes you think. But I just thought it was really good to see another dramatic role from Jim Carrey rather than his comedy stuff. As much as I love it, just him sort of building on what he did with The Truman Show. Next honourable mention for me is Saw. Really, really good horror movie with a fantastic twist ending that I didn't see coming. But yeah, really, really violent and really gory. Franchise has been milked to death in my opinion. Nothing's really come close to topping that first film for me. Next honourable mention for me is The Bourne Supremacy. Hated this the first time I saw it because I was forced to watch it at school. Hadn't seen The Bourne Identity, had no desire to see it, but as I've grown up, I really, really appreciate the trilogy for what it is, and I do think it is fantastic. I still think that first film is the best though. Next honourable mention is Christian Bale in The Machinist. My God, what did Christian Bale put himself through for this role? His weight loss is just absolutely terrifying, but it just shows how great of a professional he is to do that. And I just thought this movie was just really, really made you think and got under your skin. Next honourable mention for me is Hotel Rwanda. Great political sort of war movie that I just really, really enjoyed. Thought it was quite good, but just didn't quite make the list for me. Next honourable mention for me is The Woodsman. My favourite Kevin Bacon movie, favourite performance from him. A really, really dark movie about this sex offender / paedophile who's like trying to get his life back on track, but he's just absolutely terrified that his past might be found out by all the new people in his life. It's just really, really good drama movie with just some really good dark subject matter. Next honourable mention for me is Ray, the movie that won Jamie Foxx his Best Actor Oscar. Fantastic biopic about the entertainer Ray Charles. Next honourable mention for me is The Butterfly Effect. Yeah, I thought this was a really good movie. It was what I was expecting. It was a lot better. It looks fantastic. Got Amy Smart, Ashton Kutcher in there as well. Just this great complex sort of drama / sci-fi movie that I just thought it was quite good. And my last honourable mention is Mysterious Skin with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. This movie goes to just some dark places, particularly at the beginning with the child abuse. And what happens there is just, if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm on about. It's just really, really uncomfortable stuff. But it's a great, well-made film and quite underrated in my opinion. So that being said, I'm going to get straight in and kick it off with number 25 now. And that for me is Steven Spielberg's The Terminal. Fantastic performance by Tom Hanks in this. He sort of plays this guy who's traveling to America, but the country he's from is sort of at turmoil, is at war with itself. So when he lands in America, he can't leave the airport until the conflict with his country has been resolved. So he just has to stay there and live there and pretty much get used to it. And it's the people he meets along the way as well that we just really, really, really like when watching it. And Tom Hanks is just absolutely stellar in it. And I just really, really enjoyed it. Probably one of my most underrated Spielberg films. So coming up next for me at number 24 is Martin Scorsese's The Aviator. Beautiful looking film. Great biopic about Howard Hughes, played by DiCaprio. I thought this film was quite boring the first time I saw it, but it's grown on me the more and more I've watched it. And of course, the partnership between Scorsese and DiCaprio just went from strength to strength. From films like Gangs of New York and The Aviator, that just was a sign of great, great things to come. But yeah, The Aviator is a really, really good film. So, coming up next to me at number 23 is probably a film a lot of people really don't like, and it's The Village. I really, really enjoy this film. I think it's really, really competent and really, really well done. What was really the downside to this film, I think, when it came out, was its marketing. It had the worst marketing ever. It just... People knew what the twist ending to this film was going to be just by watching the trailers, and everyone was just sort of proved right by it. But for me, I think this is a movie that has sort of changed over time. If you go into this film knowing absolutely nothing about it, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Some of the horror aspects of this film are just top notch as well. It looks stunning. The bit where the creatures actually come into the village is just terrifying, and I remember seeing this at the cinema and I was just so scared, and just it is, I think it's a really, really underrated film, but I know it does still get a lot of hate, but I think if it's a film you don't like, just give it a second chance. So coming in at number 22 for me is Mean Girls. I thought I was going to hate this movie. I absolutely loved it and had a blast with it. It is just such a ton of fun. Best Lindsay Lohan movie. You've got Amanda Seyfried and Rachel McAdams in there as well. Tina Fey. I just thought this was a great sort of modern, at the time, a modern day high school movie with drama and comedy just mixed in there. And that's exactly what I got with it. And as I said, it was such a ton of fun and a great surprise, and it got some chuckles out of me as well along the way. So, speaking of Rachel McAdams, coming in at number 21 for me is The Notebook. Yeah, great chemistry between the two leads, Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams. The only thing I really don't like about this film is the ending. It was really, really predictable with how this film starts. You can just sort of... if you know films and watch films, you can sort of guess and predict where things are going. This film is very sinful of that. But that being said, the stories of this was just absolutely great, and I just absolutely adore it about this this couple that get together and then they break up and then years and years pass. It was just a fantastic love story, and one that was a bit unique for me. It's one that a lot of women just absolutely love and fall in love with this film, and I can completely see why, but I really, really enjoyed it and thought it was really, really competently made. So, coming up next for me at number 20 is probably my most underrated film on this list. It's quite a dark film. It's called Mean Creek. If you've not seen this film, I highly implore you to seek it out. It is absolutely fantastic. Very, very dark subject matter into this film. The plot sort of really focuses on this young lad played by one of the McCulkin kids. He's getting bullied at school by the chubby kid from Drake and Josh, who's lost a ton of weight, by the way, nowadays. But he bullies this kid, and the kid's brother decides to take the bully out with his friends, and they try and pull this prank on him as they go on this lake on this boat, and they basically try and pull a prank, but everything goes horribly wrong, and I won't get into anything else about the film, but it just made for some great dialogue-driven scenes. The characters in the film are who we like and who we love, and it was just superb and absolutely riveting. Just a great drama / thriller movie that I absolutely fell in love with. And yeah, if you've not seen it, do yourself a favour. Hunt it down, check it out. You won't be disappointed by it. So, at number 19 for me is Sideways. I absolutely love this film and just think it is so fantastic and so much fun. Good drama comedy movie with Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, who sort of play these two friends who Thomas Hayden Church's character is getting married and they go on this road trip. I love the scenes in it with the wine tasting stuff, and that scene where Paul Giamatti's like, he goes to the winery and he's like, give me a glass, and they're like, this isn't a bar, sir, and he's like, no, just give me the bottle, I'll pay for it. And it's so great. I love the scene as well where Thomas Hayden Church was actually having sex with this woman, and her husband came back, but he left his wallet in the room, and Paul Giamatti has to go and get it. It's so much fun. Yeah, I really recommend Sideways if you've not seen it. So coming up next for me at number 18 is Layer Cake. This movie feels like a Guy Ritchie movie, which wasn't directed by Guy Ritchie. It was done by Matthew Vaughn, starring Daniel Craig, Michael Gambon. Just a great British gangster movie that has a lot of charm to it and is it's just a fun film. It kind of reminded me of Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, which came out a year or two ago. I just had so much fun with it and thought it was just absolutely great, and I can't really say much more than that other than check it out. So, coming up next to me at number 17 is Michael Mann's Collateral. Great to see Tom Cruise in more of a villainous role. He just was given material here to really sink his teeth into. We sort of see Jamie Foxx as this taxi driver who basically is just a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. And Tom Cruise is just absolutely off the hook and off the chain. And we go along for the ride with Jamie Foxx every step of the way in this film. And it's just a really uncomfortable, tense movie that I just thought was absolutely fantastic. Not a movie I enjoyed the first time I watched it, but on a second repeat viewing, I completely saw it in a different light. So yeah, Collateral, check it out if you've not seen it. So coming up next for me at number 16 is Troy. Yeah, again, I think this movie is a bit of a Marmite movie. People either love it or hate it. I think it's really good and got some fantastic set pieces in it. The battle sequences are amazing. It's one of my favourite Brad Pitt movies. It has this hilarious insult delivered by Brad Pitt, "You sack of wine." The fuck's all that about? I don't know, but it fits in the movie somehow. But yeah, Orlando Bloom for me is a bit bland. Eric Bana's fine, and it was great to see Brian Cox in there as well. And Brendan Gleeson. Fantastic character actors. I love the bit at the end, which I won't spoil, but the story is very old, with the Trojan horse. And yeah, it was just a great action epic in my opinion. It reminded me, I know that's given the movie high praise, but it was kind of like the Ben-Hur and Gladiator type movie. I just really enjoyed. So, coming up at number 15 for me is a very controversial pick. It's the movie that won Best Picture at the Oscars in 2005, but it was a 2004 release. And that is Crash. This movie does upset and piss off a lot of people, and I can completely get why. I just went into it with a very open mind and was watching it, and I really, really enjoyed the performances in the movie. There are some very, very uncomfortable scenes in this film, but it didn't really put me off the movie. I was kind of getting what the movie was getting at and what it was doing. But as I said, the performances in it are just absolutely great. It has an absolute stellar cast. It's just such a shame we don't get to see as many movies nowadays with Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser. I just loved it when he just was popping up in stuff. But yeah, as I said, you've got him, Don Cheadle, Terrence Howard, Sandra Bullock. Just a great cast. But I can completely get where the hate comes from this movie, but I did still enjoy it. So coming up next for me at number 14 is a movie a lot of people really, really enjoy. It's Dead Man's Shoes, starring Paddy Considine. This is a fantastic, fantastic revenge film done in a very, very grounded atmosphere. It's the best acting performance I've seen from Paddy Considine. He is just someone you do not want to get on the wrong side of. He's out for revenge against a group of people that sort of humiliated his disabled brother, played by Toby Kebbell, who was fantastic in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes as Cobra. And we just follow the two of them as they go along, and he's just like he's trying to get revenge on what happened to his brother for them, and we go along the way with them, and it just leads to just some frightening and tense scenes. The ending, which I won't dare spoil, does have a twist ending. It's really, really good. But yeah, I just absolutely implore you to see Dead Man's Shoes if you've not seen it. And of course, I'm recommending all of these movies, but I do recommend some stronger than others. But these are definitely ones to check out. So, coming up at number 13 for me is Garden State. Directed and starring Zach Braff. Love Zach Braff stuff, especially his work on Scrubs. This was just a great, great blend of comedy and drama that I really, really got into. I really, really enjoyed, and I couldn't really fault the movie for anything because I was going along watching it. Natalie Portman's just absolutely adorable in the film. Ian Holm's great as Zach Braff's father. I just thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was fantastic. Great soundtrack as well. Yeah, it's definitely one to check out. So, coming up at number 12 for me is Denzel Washington in Man on Fire. This movie's like a sort of precursor to the late 2000 movies that came out around about the time. Movies like Taken. Follows Denzel Washington, who plays this sort of bodyguard who's hired to protect Dakota Fanning, but she ends up getting kidnapped. And he basically goes on a one-man warpath to try and get her back. Fantastic performances in it as well. Christopher Walken's in there as well. He's always great in everything he does. And I just thought this was a fantastic action movie directed by Tony Scott. Great to see another action movie from him as well. You know, stuff he's done's great, like Top Gun and True Romance. I really, really enjoyed Man on Fire. So, coming up next for me is a comedy movie that I know a lot of people love. It's not a great film, but it's a fun comedy movie. And for me, it's Dodgeball. The chemistry that Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn have in this movie as these two enemies. Basically, Ben Stiller's trying to close down this gym called Average Joe's because he sees it as a competition for his massive empire of Globo Gym. So they take up this dodgeball tournament and make a wager, and that is basically the movie. And it is so much fun, so entertaining. The cast in it is great. It's the funniest, in my opinion, Ben Stiller's been as White Goodman, this total fucking tit. But yeah, it's just so, it's if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm on about. It's not a perfect film, but the blend of comedy in it just works so well. And again, Vince Vaughn, I love pretty much anything he's in. He's really surprised me in recent years with movies like Hacksaw Ridge and Brawl in Cell Block 99. Yet to see Freaky. I've heard some good things about that, but yeah, getting back to Dodgeball, it is just so much fun and is absolutely hilarious. And really, really quotable comedy as well. It's just got some classic one-liners to it. So yeah, coming up at number 10 for me is a bit more of a serious film than Dodgeball. It's Downfall. This movie is technically and from an acting point of view, it is flawless. It is fantastic. The movie basically focuses on the final days and the final hours of the Second World War from Hitler's point of view. This is the best portrayal of Adolf Hitler I have ever seen in a film. Seen a lot of this movie get sort of memed a lot of the time, but the actor in this film who plays Adolf Hitler, my word, this again is one of those performances I've seen where the acting is just absolutely flawless. You know, if you're an actor and you want to like study acting, watch this performance. It is just flawless. It's horrifying as well because you feel as if you're in the bunker and you're in the room when Hitler's given the bad news the bad news to him that Germany's losing the war. But yeah, it's just absolutely stellar powerhouse performances, and I can't praise the movie more. Just check it out if you've not seen it. It's not a movie to put on when you're in a bad mood or down or anything like that. It's something that really, really requires your attention and your thought. But yeah. Coming up next to me at number 9 is the second of the Before trilogy, and that is Before Sunset. This trilogy is absolutely fantastic, done by Richard Linklater. Each one sort of told about 9 years apart from the last. Great to see these characters again from the first film who met by chance and fell in love and then had to go their separate ways and are sort of reunited in the second movie. And we get to find out what they were up to, what they did, whether or not they agreed to meet again. It was just a fantastically written drama again, and I love well-written dramas, and this film's no exception. But yeah, I believe the trilogy has had a recent Criterion release, and I believe it's like really, really expensive as well. I've just stuck to the DVDs, and I'm absolutely fine and happy with that. But yeah, this trilogy is one of the greatest in my opinion. You know, each movie has its part and its place and just fits so well. So coming up next for me at number 8 is the Alfonso Cuarón directed Harry Potter movie, and that is The Prisoner of Azkaban. This movie is probably the best directed Harry Potter movie out of the franchise. It just looks absolutely fantastic. The only issue I have with this film is because it has so much of an Alfonso Cuarón stamp on it. It shifts in tone so much from the first 2 movies directed by Christopher Columbus. It is just so painfully, blatantly obvious that this was directed by someone different. And the tone just shifts far, far too much for me, and it's so distracting. But it's not to say it's a bad film. It again comes down to different auteurs and different styles, but when you're doing a franchise, that's when the franchise becomes really, really choppy. The tones just shift in the movie, and it's really, really distracting for me. And I know it's a really, really impossible task to say to someone, right, you're directing all the Harry Potter films, make them your own style. But yeah, the movie just getting to the plot of the movie, it completely accelerates and advances the plot of Harry Potter in ways I didn't think were imaginable. New characters are introduced, particularly with Sirius Black. Of course, Lupin. We learn a bit more about Harry's past with Harry's father's past, and where loyalties lie, pretty much. It was just a massive, massive surprise for me. I'd seen the film before I'd read the book. The book, obviously, of course, goes into the story in a bit more detail. But, yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban is the best looking Harry Potter movie. It's really, really dark and it's really, really good as well. But it just had too much of a shift for me from those first two movies. You can tell those first two movies were directed by the same person who had the same visual style, and this one just jumps completely in the other direction with that style, and it's just too distracting for me when rewatching these movies back to back as a franchise. But yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban, it's still a fantastic movie. So, coming up next for me at number 7 is the movie that did actually win Best Picture at the 2004 Oscars, and that is $1 Million Baby. I did not like this film at all the first time I saw it, but again, over time, it's one of those movies I gave a second chance to, and it completely won me over. Pretty much stars Hilary Swank as this up-and-coming boxer who wants to sort of be given her shot, really. She wants to be trained by Clint Eastwood's character. And yeah, everything goes well from there up until one fight happens, and it leads to an absolute tragedy in the movie. And I won't say any more about it, and I won't spoil it. But when that tragedy happens, the performances in the movie are just absolutely stellar. Morgan Freeman, Clint Eastwood, Hilary Swank taking home a second Oscar, fully deserved as well, and fully deserved for her first one as well in Boys Don't Cry. My God, what a performance that was. But yeah, $1 Million Baby, it's a great boxing movie as well. You can add it to the list of like the Rocky and the Creed movies, Raging Bull. This is up there with them. It's just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, $1 Million Baby, check it out. So that leads me to my number 6 pick, which is a comedy movie. Again, a Marmite movie that divides, I think, a lot of people. I've heard people say they hate this movie. I've heard them say they love it. For me, it's Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. The most quotable movie ever. In my opinion, the lines in it are just too many to count. So many great one-liners. So many great characters. You've got Ron Burgundy in this movie, played by Will Ferrell, who is a bit of a chauvinist, but the hotshot news anchor for Channel 4 News in San Diego. And it's basically him being sort of threatened by the appearance of Veronica, who wants to be a news anchor woman. And he just basically loses his shit over it because he just feels like as if he's being replaced. But yeah, again, Vince Vaughn in this as well. Superb as Ron's sort of his enemy. It's just absolutely fantastic. And the movie is just so much fun. One of the greatest fight scenes in a movie as well, when all the news teams get together and just have this massive brawl, and the only rule is no touching the hair and face. Yeah, it's so much fun. It's not for everyone, as I said. Comedy is subjective, but for me, I really, really enjoyed Anchorman. So, coming in at number 5 for me is an animated movie, probably one of the best superhero movies we've ever got from Pixar, and it's The Incredibles. This is the Fantastic Four movie that we never ever got, pretty much. It's about sort of reclaiming your heyday and reliving the glory days, as it were. It follows a family of superheroes who, before their children were born, they were in their prime and, as I said, had their heyday. And eventually they started saving people who didn't really want to be saved, and they ended up getting sued, and they had to retreat back into secrecy and not don any of their costumes again or save anyone, and had to lead normal lives. And then, for whatever reason, they're called back into action, and as I said, they relive their glory days. And yeah, the story just weaves so well. A fantastic villain as well in Syndrome, with motivation that we understand and a great backstory. Some really, really funny and really, really creepy moments from Syndrome as well, particularly towards the end, involving Jack Jack. But yeah, as I said, the characters in the film make it as well. They are just absolutely superb. Yeah, it's one of the best superhero movies ever, in my opinion. I absolutely love The Incredibles, and the sequel's pretty good too. So yeah, coming in at number 4 for me is a much smaller movie, and it's Napoleon Dynamite. I enjoy the hell out of this film. Every time I rewatch it, it just brings me so much joy. The social awkwardness of it as well. The characters in the movie, I absolutely love. I love the grandma. I love his brother Kip. I love Uncle Rico. He's just such a jerk. Pedro as well. Just absolutely fantastic high school stuff. That just really, really captures the awkwardness of it, in my opinion anyway. The soundtrack to the movie is just absolutely stellar, particularly that song The Promise, done by When in Rome, that's played during the credits. I absolutely love that song. I just think it's fantastic. The stuff at the prom as well is just great. The dance sequence at the end is so satisfying, and it just gets a reaction that we just didn't expect. But yeah, I love Napoleon Dynamite. I just think it is just so much fun and has so much charm to it as well. Really, really well done for such a low budget film as well. So my number 3 pick is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. In my opinion, the best live action Spider-Man movie we've ever had. I really, really enjoyed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. I know a lot of people can say he was probably a bit too old for the role, and yes, I agree with that, but for some reason, for me, Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire just have great star power and great chemistry, in my opinion. I really, really enjoy them. Casting's not always going to be perfect, but this movie has one of the best castings in any film ever, in my opinion. That being J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Even the MCU knew they couldn't recast that role. But yeah, this gets to see Spider-Man take on Dr. Octopus, and it is just a joy to watch the two of them fight. It is fantastic. That train sequence alone just makes the movie. It is superb. Alfred Molina, cast as Dr. Octopus, is great. I hope the rumours are true with this new and upcoming Spider-Man we should be getting later this year. Because I just wonder what joys that movie can bring. It just sounds so ambitious with what they're doing, but what can be said about that movie. We don't know what we're getting with that yet. But getting back to Spider-Man 2, fantastic comic book movie as well. Just so well done and so great. Controversial decision. I really don't mind Spider-Man 3. I actually quite like it. I'll get into that in a later video. But yeah, number 2, it's the best of the trilogy. And I massively enjoy it. I think it's one of the best comic book movies we've ever had. So my number 2 pick is Kill Bill Volume 2. Now, Volume 1 was my number 2 pick of movies from 2003. And Volume 2 is my number 2 pick from 2004. So this movie picks up pretty much straight away where the first one leaves off. And this movie takes more time with it. It has a much more somber style and attitude towards it. The movie looks visually fantastic. It's just more about the bride trying to cross more of the names off her list. And we get some absolute stellar fight sequences in this movie. Fantastic story as well. Some really good claustrophobic scenes in it as well, particularly the scene where she gets buried alive. A great monologue from Bill at the end of this film where he's talking to the bride about Superman, and Superman isn't the disguise. Clark Kent's the disguise. Clark Kent's the costume. Clark Kent's who Superman pretends to be, whereas all the other superheroes pretend to be the superhero. Like Bruce Wayne is Bruce Wayne. He dresses up as Batman. Superman is Superman, but he dresses up as Clark Kent. It's just so interesting and so engaging, and Tarantino just nails the dialogue, in my opinion. Just absolutely superb and stellar. The scenes where she is being trained as well, just absolutely fantastic martial arts stuff. Just really enjoy this movie. The fight sequences between Uma Thurman and Daryl Hannah as well. Superb action. Oh god, it's just on point. Doesn't have as many kills as the first film, but it's more power to it. It just, again, it takes more of a somber backseat approach, and it's still absolutely fantastic, and it's just as good as the first, in my opinion. It's it's the perfect double bill feature, Kill Bill 1 and 2. They're both absolutely fantastic. So, that being said, it leads me now to my number 1 pick of 2004. And that for me is Shaun of the Dead. I absolutely love this movie. Pays homage to so many zombie films that came before it. The very first time I ever saw Simon Pegg on TV was there was a documentary about Dawn of the Dead, and he was on talking about it. And I was just really surprised to see that this movie, many years later, was being made and coming out with him. And yeah, this is just one of my favourite zombie movies. It's really good. Edgar Wright's directing and editing in this movie is just on point. It's just absolutely fantastic. The scenes that stick out to me are the ones where Shaun himself is going out to buy a cornetto, and we see mirror images of that scene, one before and one during the apocalypse. They just work together so well. They just go hand in hand. The characters in this, too many great ones to count. Nick Frost's character, I absolutely love. He's just this lazy arsehole. Pretty much he just lives with them. The scene where they're up at like 4 a.m. just playing records, like what the hell? It's just so much fun. One of the best movie jerks in my opinion as well, with Dylan Moran's character, who's just trying to get in with Shaun's girlfriend. But yeah, I love the scene as well at the end where they're in the pub and they're trying to defend themselves from these zombies while listening to Queen. It's just absolutely fantastic. A fantastic zombie horror film. It's a rom-com, as it was famously called. Romantic comedy with zombies, as pretty much said on the cover. It's just a wonderful film. Saw it when it came out. It's so rewatchable as well. It's the whole Cornetto trilogy is, but particularly Shaun of the Dead. This for me is the best one of the trilogy. As funny as Hot Fuzz is and as wacky as insane as The World's End is, they're just absolutely great, and it's my favourite Edgar Wright movie. I think it's just absolutely wonderful, and with a perfect cast. And I can't praise the movie enough. It's out of all the films on this list, for me, it's the most rewatchable. It's the one I've probably come back to the most. But yeah, it is. It's fantastic for what it does. It's superb. So yeah, they're my top 25 favourite movies from 2004. So I'm going to leave the video there and just say thanks very much, guys. Get involved in some comments below and tell me what your favourite films of 2004 are. If there's anything on this list that you want to check out or anything you feel as if I've missed off. When I do these videos, I have seen a lot more films than I give honorable mentions to. There's a lot of garbage that I have to sit through as well. But yeah, as I said, if you've enjoyed the content, please think about subscribing and hitting the like button. It mean a great deal to me. So just say thanks very much again for watching. Stay safe and take care.